So my name is Josh Kingston, for those of you who do not know me. Division Chief here at Southwest. Little housekeeping before we get started. Bathroom is back in the back corner. And yeah, so there's coffee, soda, water, all that stuff. So today we're going to do structural search and rescue, and what I'm giving you guys is the skill sheets that we're going to go over after we get done with the lecture, just so you guys have an idea of how that works. And
You need to put our names on.
yes.
Under instructor, put our names.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so this is chapter 10 in the Firefighter 1 and 2 book, Structural Search and Rescue. We're not going to go through all of it, but we are going to go through some of the, most of it. Alright, so the first objective that we're going to go over tonight is to explain the best practices to ensure firefighter survival during interior operations. Okay? So we want to recognize potential hazards and rescue lost or trapped firefighters, and then escape unavoidable hazards. What kind of unavoidable hazards might we encounter?
House on fire.
Okay. House on fire. Very, very good. Okay. What else? Yeah, unavoidable or potential hazards. What would be some potential hazards that we might run into during a search and rescue inside a structural?
Oh, damage to the structure around us,
Okay.
encroaching fire.
Okay. How do you know if there is a potential collapse in the building?
Guys outside yelling at you.
Okay.
Coming in.
And how do you know inside the building if there's potential collapse?
Sound, structural damage, structural integrity.
Okay. How do you tell the structural integrity inside the house?
Based on scene size up, based on pre-planning, based on.
Sounding the floor, listening for pops, cooking cracks, and popping of the fire.
Okay. Alright. So, conditions that should be communicated during the search and rescue are these things, okay? So we want to look for the location and the extent of the fire, because during search and rescue, what is our main objective?
To get victims out.
To get victims out, okay? So are we concerned with necessarily putting the fire out at that point? Because we're not part of that team, right? As a on the search and rescue. We're part of the search and rescue team, not the
Recovery.
attack team, okay? So, but if we do locate fire, we want to relay that information to command so that way they can send in the attack team to the right place. Okay. Changes in any kind of heat level. How are we going to measure that? Because what's one tool that we can take in? Yeah. What's one tool that we can take in?
Tick.
The tick, okay, the thermal imager. Okay, changes to the fire behavior, the spread and growth, any kind of visibility level changes. So
The smoke layer.
your layers of smoke, okay, and then your neutral plane, smoke color, and the change of smoke color, and then the volume and behavior of that smoke, okay. Things that as on the search and rescue team that we're gonna be communicating, is how many, victims or occupants are there in the house, any kind of known locations or anything like that. And then starting in and available air supply, your safe havens and any kind of alternate exit routes, and then indications of any kind of ceiling or floor collapse. And we see that with any kind of cracking, sprawling, any of that stuff, okay? Why is it important to know where your alternate exit routes are?
In case the person goes to crap.
Okay, yeah, so in case the first one goes to crap and you've got to find an exit route out somewhere, okay?
If you took a beating going in to get your victim, you're not gonna drag your victim who's not protected back in the way you can.
Okay, so what conditions should be reporting?
Heat,
Smoke
fire.
changes, okay? Heat changes,
Fire extension.
okay, so fire extinction, maybe flow path and smoke, okay? And if we find a victim, okay, and where they're at, where your location is at, and where you're gonna come out.
And what you're gonna need to get them out.
Yeah, okay. So, personal preparation. We want to practice those sound firefighting techniques, okay? So all those techniques that you learned in Fire 1 and 2. You want to practice your situational awareness. You want to have any kind of, you want to anticipate any kind of survival situations that you may face. Practice your maydays and self-rescues. And then check your own team members and your own air supply, okay? And then practice basic skills until they're automatic, right? So that's why we do training. Why is that not showing up? So, physical and mental preparation. Sorry, I don't know why it's not showing up. It's showing up on my thing. Alright, so be physically and mentally prepared, practice your basic skills, do all of that. Practice air management techniques. Okay, so how do we practice those air management techniques, or what are the air management techniques that we have? Skip breathing, okay. There's a couple others.
Count in, count out.
Okay, yeah. So, while you're just sitting there in class or doing anything, you can practice your skip breathing. You can practice the other types of breathing that we have. So, make sure that your PPE matches the hazard and is working appropriately. Okay. So, if we've got any kind of tears or rips or anything in our PPE, then we want to take that stuff out of service. You don't want to go into a fire with that stuff, okay? And then know your duties, know what you're assigned to do. So if you're going in for search and rescue, that's what you're assigned to do, and that's what you need to go in and do when you get there. And know how to do that search and rescue. Know your physical limitations, so watch for not only in yourself, but watch for signs of fatigue and increased breathing, increased heart rates in your partners, okay? So what are signs of increased heart rate? Huh? So heavy breathing, okay? What else? Flushed skin, sweating, okay? I know that we're all going to be like sweating inside the fire anyway, and we've got all that gear on, but increased sweating that would be more than normal. Know the limitations of your PPE, how hot that PPE can get, and then your air supply as well. Listen to your team members and follow orders thoughtfully, and if it doesn't sound right, ask for clarification on that stuff. Okay? Seriously? So, Situational awareness, we're going to look for any kind of signs that key fire indicators that may particularly be associated with rapid fire development or potential rollover. Okay? And then listen, feel, and watch for any kind of changes in the environment as well. Recognize the psychological effects of obscured vision. So, we don't have night vision, okay? It's really difficult to see in the dark and in smoke and stuff like that. So, you're going to get disoriented, okay? You may have a little bit of fear, claustrophobia, and panic, all right? So, how do we combat those things? Practice, okay? And know that those things can occur, all right? And when they do occur, what do we need to do?
Step back.
Okay, step back. Take the time out, basically. Okay, remain calm, control your breathing, maintain your situational awareness, stay in contact with your partners, and focus on your assigned task, and then rely on other senses such as your hearing and touch as well. Okay? So all of those things that I just said. So list 3 actions that firefighters can take to better prepare themselves for survival in hazardous conditions. Practice, okay? So practice that air management. Practice the escape routes, okay? Practice your maydays. Yeah. All right, so mayday situations. Mayday situations can occur when you have air emergencies. You may become lost or disoriented. You may become entangled. There's rapid fire development, or there's a collapse, or you're trapped. Okay. What kind of air emergencies are we going to have? Low air. Okay. A malfunction. Okay. Malfunction of the seal on the mask. Okay. Malfunction of the air tank itself. All right. Which is why it's important to check all of that equipment beforehand. Okay. Tenability. So an untenable environment may remain tenable for firefighters if there is no evidence of a structural collapse, and heat levels and duration of operations stay within acceptable limits for PPE as SCBA. Okay. So we may be in a tenable environment or an untenable environment, but it's tenable for us because we have all the gear, right? Okay, survival. Let's change that word. Survival for us because we have all the gear. Okay, we have the turnout gears, we have the SCBA. All right. So, but for our victims, it is not so tenable or survival because they don't have that gear. They're unprotected. All right. So how do we determine tenability? Environment that can change swiftly due to some kind of sudden or unexpected fire spread and temperature increase. Loss of structural stability and possible collapse. Maybe a buildup of smoke and products of combustion. So if that environment becomes untenable, then we have to be alerted. Okay, so those who are inside doing search and rescue or even attack need to be alerted that it's an untenable environment, it's going to collapse, or something has happened that we need to evacuate. Okay, so personnel should either evacuate or take shelter into a safe haven, and the IC has to be notified once all personnel evacuate or take shelter. Okay? Why would we take shelter instead of evacuate? Do what? Okay, so collapse. Okay, if we have no way out, okay, and where are we going to take shelter at inside a residential home? If we
Hopefully it's out of the wall and close the door behind it.
yeah, so inside a room, if we can, to an outer wall, and or if we can't close the door, then if there's a closet in there or a bathroom, then get in one of those. Okay. So just like we would escape to one of those safe havens, occupants are going to try and flee to one of those safe havens because it's kind of instinct to go where there's no smoke, right? So occupants may be in these safe havens as well. So firefighters can use door control and safe havens as survival procedures, and then we're going to notify IC if you do seek shelter into a safe haven. Okay. So where would a safe haven be in this house? Yeah. Yeah. So this room's closed, and we don't have any.
Flame or smoke?
Yeah, flame or smoke in that building. And the flow path is pretty contained, right? And it's being avoided by those two rooms. Okay. So what hazards must firefighters be prepared to face during interior operations? Okay, so visibility. What? Locked doors. Okay.
Damage from water already put on the fire.
So yeah, damage from water.
Soft
So
floors.
yeah, soft floors, all that stuff. Okay. All right. So let's talk about air management. So we want to always know how much air you have left. All right. And know your point of no return. Everybody's different for their point of no return. Okay. So Michael, what's your point of no return?
Third in, third out, third in the group.
Okay. So anybody else know what their point of no return is? I mean, that's pretty good standard to have. Okay. No? Alright. That's fine. Inform IC if you must exit the structure because of some type of air management issue. Okay.
They come in, okay.
Alright, so pressure gauge checks. So when do we do these? We do these before we enter the ILDH, right? Okay? Yes, IDLH, thank you. When moving from one area to another, after any kind of period of heavy work, and then when you're resting, specific intervals based on your SOPs, and when assigned area is reached. Okay? So your point of no return is based on how much air is required to exit the IDLH. It's the lowest cylinder gauge reading of any team member. It's determined by SOPs, environmental conditions, and the team's physical and mental condition. Okay. Air consumption does vary widely from individual to individual, so a cylinder's rated operating time is not an indicator of actual operating time because of these variations. Michael can probably outbreathe me, I know he can, outbreathe me on an SCBA, okay? I'm a smoker. I have bad lungs to begin with. So, Michael can outbreathe me on an SCBA, I guarantee you. So, air management in an emergency. So if you have an emergency with your air, never leave your team, okay? And never leave a team member inside the hazard zone alone. And then maintain your communication with your IC or supervisor. All right. Possible solutions: stay low to the ground and ensure that your valve is open. Opening the bypass valve only as needed. Fix or bypass malfunctions if possible, and use the buddy sharing buddy hose if you need to. Okay? If you are trapped or disoriented, stay calm, activate your pass device, and control your breathing until rescue arrives. If the SCBA is inoperable and air remains in your cylinder, you can open the bypass valve to provide positive pressure and breathe directly from the cylinder. If your air runs out before rescue arrives, and there are no other options, you're going to create a gap between the chin and the mask to breathe and as needed. Okay? Try to shelter yourself away from the IDLH if necessary or possible. Alright, so what are 3 key principles to air management? Limitation, okay? What else? Train,
And watch your gauges.
watch your gauges. Okay? Alright, so when we shelter in place, we're going to transmit a mayday. We're not going to go through a whole mayday situation because that's not part of this class. But just as a brief kind of overview, what is a mayday? What are you going to do on the radio? Mayday, mayday, mayday. Okay, what else is going to follow?
They clear and move everybody else over to a different channel.
Okay,
And then they call for your mayday information.
okay, so what information are we going to ask for?
What your name is, where you are, how much air you have.
Who you are, what company, what your task was, what your location is, how much air do you have left, and what are you gonna need to be rescued?
So activate your pass, listen for any kind of sounds or clues that would provide your information, or your location, sorry, and then isolate yourself in the fire compartment. So shut those doors, control those doors, make sure that you're isolating yourself.
You're
Okay?
gonna have to do all that stuff before you activate.
Yeah.
You know, your squat, your pass those.
So what action should be taken if it is necessary to shelter in place?
Call
The
me.
ones we just talked
Call them
about.
in, yeah, it's all those ones that we just talked about, okay? So activate your pass, listen for sounds, isolate, shine a light, draw attention to yourself, all those things. Okay? Alright. So what type of emergency situation would require a firefighter to shelter in place and escape? And we kind of talked about that earlier.
If you're lost.
Lost, disoriented, okay, overcome, collapse, okay. Alright. Next objective we're going to do is describe structural search and rescue operations. If I can speak. Okay? So training knowledge, we're going to search preparation, search safety guidelines, your fire isolation procedures, your search markings, your primary and secondary search techniques, and then your search methods. We're going to talk about all of those. Okay? Search preparation. So know who you report to. Okay? Is it a big fire where we've got multiple fire departments on scene and we've got different companies that maybe have different tasks, where you've got a captain assigned to search and rescue who has 3 to 4 people underneath him who are actually doing the search and rescue inside, or something like that. Okay, so do you report to the captain or do you report to the IC? Basically, is know who you're supposed to report to. Your portable radio is turned on, working, and sets to its correct channel. When we do structural firefighting or anything like that, we have a Fire 23 that we can switch over to, so that way we're all kind of together. Your SCBA is turned on, working, and contains a full cylinder of air, and your pass device is turned on and working as well. Okay? Know your assigned duties and tactical objectives. Be aware of alternate means of egress. Gather any kind of knowledge of the building's floor plan. We use First View now for our reporting system. And so before we get on scene, Chief, actually anybody who has access to First View, which everybody's going to have access to First View here pretty soon. But we can look and see what kind of building it is, see when it was built, and then we can kind of know what kind of, maybe modifications might have been done to it or something like that. Okay. Have all the necessary tools and equipment. So you don't go into a fire without what? A tool, something. Okay. And a light. Okay. So you've got to have some kind of tool. So that tool can be a Mary Repair, it can be a tick, it get the building floor plan. Inspections, we don't necessarily do inspections, but we do pre-incident surveys. Any kind of architectural plans as well. And then any kind of personal observation. When you're driving around the district, look at the buildings.
And your own medicals.
Yeah, when you're on medicals, look at the building. Look inside the house, see where everything's at, kind of know things, okay? If I'm looking at a house though, where can I tell that there's a bathroom or maybe even a kitchen? Okay, so pipes, what else?
Small windows.
Small windows, okay, small windows. If you notice on my house, I don't have smaller windows. I have smaller windows in my laundry room and my bathroom, but they're,
In the kitchen,
yeah,
the bathroom,
it's bigger, it's smaller than the rest of the windows in the house. So,
Usually they're higher up the floor.
yeah. Sure, any kind of building that may be under construction as well. We do try and do that, couple of us, couple of them, try and get out and do that, okay? I get calls all the time for,
Inspections.
yeah, inspections and stuff like that. I had, just so we're all aware, out on 73, out on West Branch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a RV park going in, as well as, shipping container buildings. And I know a shipping container is, one size, one length and everything like that, but if they're gonna use it as like housing or rental properties or whatever they're gonna use it for, what are they gonna do in it? They're gonna modify it, okay? So when he called, I said, hey, if you do any kind of modifications to those houses, can you send us the plans for those? Okay? So hopefully he'll send me the plans. When Dollar General was being built, I got plans from Dollar General. So even though we don't have inspections and stuff like that, I asked for it beforehand, so that way we kind of have an idea of how it all goes. And now at first, I can put that stuff into the system itself. So, yeah, into the pre-plan. Again, observe those structures in your response area. We don't necessarily have any hotels, but we do have some commercial buildings, right? So Dollar General is one of those buildings. What kind of building would that be?
Mercantile.
Yeah, what kind of structure that was it?
Stay outside, it's working on it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so what about Jones's?
Hazmat.
Yeah, hazmat, okay. It definitely hazmat, yes. What else? Because they have office in the big building, right? So they have a big huge garage bay area, and then they have an office building on one side. And there's multiple offices in there.
There's apartments in the
So-
building too, isn't there?
No,
Oh, is there not?
there's just a whole bunch of offices.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I've been in there a couple times just for running medicals, and I know, and they've got offices that have their own door out to the outside,
Right.
and some of those, you have to walk through the office to get to.
7 offices, a full kitchen,
Yeah,
and a conference room, and just a foyer.
yeah,
And then you have a bay, 3 bays attached to that building, and then around the other side, all the bays are attached, other than the mechanic shop.
yeah. So, but, I mean, if you were to go over there and look at it, you could see that there's 3 bays, and then you kind of can see that there is some type of, office, something on the one side, because it is different than the rest of the building. Okay, so those tools and equipment we talked about, so charged hose lines, rope for any kind of search lines, the forcible entry tools, TIG, and then any kind of ladder if necessary. Okay. Thermal imagers, these allow firefighters to see the heat through smoke and darkness. It's used to locate victims and hidden fire. and identify any kind of temperature differentials as well. Okay. There are some advantages. It enhances your situational awareness. It improves visibility in the obscure environment. It provides additional information during your search, and it may be useful in locating victims at the scene of the fire, it may be useful in locating victims at the scene of the fire or any kind of hidden fire. It does have limitations, so it cannot detect a person under or behind furniture or on opposite side of the wall. Cannot see through water, glass, or reflective surfaces, and it may not be able to detect fire below carpet floors. Okay. So just kind of information. Inspect after every use, replace the batteries as needed, clean regularly, report any kind of damage or malfunction, and then should not be relied upon to provide all information about fire. Okay. It's not a replacement for senses or observations, and it may fail under fire conditions. Okay, so what should we do here for search and rescue operations?
Gather the correct tools.
Okay, the correct tools.
Training.
Okay, how do you carry those tools?
With your hands.
Okay,
Inspect the equipment.
inspect your equipment, yeah. Okay. What tools?
Rope.
Rope,
Webbing.
webbing,
Alley.
okay,
Axe.
sticks, okay, any of that stuff. Just so long as you have a tool before you go in. What type of equipment is used in our jurisdiction? All those things.
All the things we just
Yeah.
said.
So, all the things that we just said. Okay. Search safety guidelines. So, do not enter a structure when the survivors are not likely to be found. So, if we have confirmation that maybe there's no fire, that there's no victims in there, then do we need to go in and do a search?
Yeah, well, if the fire's like that right there, no, we're not gonna do anything till after.
Right.
We will search after the fire is out.
Right.
Make sure.
Okay. But, I mean, if we're there, fire's coming in one building or one side of the building, and we know that nobody's inside the building, do we need to go in and do a search and rescue?
It probably wouldn't hurt to do.
Okay, so it probably wouldn't hurt to do one. Maybe at the
After
same
primary
time.
attack is.
Yeah, so after we're doing our primary attack and stuff like that, then go in and search.
The biggest problem we're gonna run into is more and more people sneak in the houses that
Yeah.
may not been lived in, and there you go.
Close doors to create protected areas and avoid creating any kind of additional flow path. Okay, so where smoke goes, what follows? Fire does. Okay. Maintain control of the exterior doors to control ventilation. So if we've got an attack team and a search and rescue team, who's going to be controlling the door? The attack team should be controlling the door, right? Because they are the ones who are fighting the fire, right? And they're more concerned with the flow path, okay? And controlling that flow path. So if there is a responsibility of, or possibility of a rapid fire element, we're not going to try and attempt entry into until coordinated fire control and ventilation has been implemented. Do not freelance. Do not maintain radio contact with your ICE. Monitor any kind of radio traffic for information or changes in orders. Continuously monitor those fire conditions and use the department's accountability system. Okay. Be aware of your entry point and secondary means of egress. So if I know that I've got a victim in a bedroom, where would a secondary means of egress be? A window. Okay, potentially a window in that building. Now, when we get to what kind of searches we're going to do, if I know that there's a victim in that room, what kind of search am I realistically probably going to do?
Targeted search.
Okay, so targeted search or
DPS.
yeah, so that. All right. So I'm going to do one of those. Okay. Wear your full PPE, including your SCBA pass. Work in teams of 2 or more. Always remain in physical contact or vocal contact with that patient, partner. And if you encounter the fire, close the door and report that condition. And then we're going to do a search systematically. Okay? Where visibility is limited, we're going to stay low and move cautiously, continuously monitor the structure's integrity, and communicate any kind of changes. Mark entry doors. We'll talk about marking here a little bit. And if visibility is obscured, we're going to maintain contact with a wall, hose line, or search line. Okay? Have a staff charge hose line available when working on the fire floor or floors immediately above or below. Coordinate with IC and ventilation teams before creating exterior openings. Because of flow path, we create an opening and that flow path comes directly towards us. What's also going to happen? Fire's going to come right after. Okay? Inform your supervisor immediately of any rooms that could not be searched, and report promptly to your supervisor once the search is complete. Okay? So what are some safety guidelines for search and rescue? Keep in contact with the partner.
Keep in contact with IC.
Keep in contact with IC. What else?
Wear full SCBA and PPE.
Okay.
Make sure your pass device works.
Make sure doors are closed behind you.
All right.
Mark doors that you go into.
Yep. All right. All right. So fire isolation. So locating and isolating fire must be a priority before any search, and it can be accomplished in a number of ways. We're also going to enter. Entering to search provides a ventilation opening, so we have to be aware of that. And ensuring the fire does not spread should be a high priority as well. Alright, so marking systems. There are a couple different types of marking systems that you can use. You can do this with chalk, you can do this with a marker, some type of high visibility something, so that way they can see it, huh? Yeah. Okay. So when you enter the building, you're going to put 1 slash. When you exit, you're going to put 2 slashes to make an X. And in that X, you're going to put certain things. Okay. So any kind of hazards go in the left-hand or the right-hand side of the X. Your team and company name go in the left-hand side of the X. At the top of the X, you're going to mark the date and the time, which not too concerned about the date and time because I know the date and time, right? If I'm there. And then any kind of victim retrieval or something like that. Okay. So primary search is to rapidly determine the location of victims. It is fast but thorough, and it's done before or during fire suppression. Okay, so we may be doing it at the same time as that attack team is going in, and we're just going to do a quick down and dirty search of the building. Okay. We're going to quickly check any kind of known or likely victim locations, all those safe havens that we talked about, so bedrooms, closets, under beds, couches, bathrooms, anything like that. Check fire conditions and report them, and then always work in teams of 2 or more and maintain physical, visual, and voice contact. Okay. A secondary search is a slow, thorough search that's conducted after that fire is under control. Okay, so we controlled the fire attack team controlled the fire in the room of origin, and it's good to go. Okay, so now we're going to go in and do a secondary search just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. It ensures that no occupants are overlooked during your primary search. It's often conducted by different personnel than the primary search. Why is that? Different perspective, different eyes. Okay. We're going to use the same systematic steps as the primary search, and we're not going to remove our SCBA to do this search until it's safe to do so. Okay? So what's the difference between a primary and a secondary?
Primary is quick.
Yeah, your primary is quick, down and dirty. Your secondary is a slow, methodical type search. Okay. So search methods. There's several different types of search methods that we can go through. There's the oriented search, the wide search, and a search using thermal imagers. Okay. There's several others. On the left-handed search, so we're going down the hallway and we come to a door. Okay. We want to go into this room to make sure that we search it. So how are we going to do that? We're going to go in,
All the wall.
follow the wall. Okay, so going to the left, okay, and follow the wall, follow going around anything. What else are we doing while we're doing this left-handed search?
Check the floors for stars.
Okay, so yes, sounding, we can do that. What else are we doing? Because if we're against the wall and this is a bigger bedroom, what are we doing?
We're reaching out, not with a tool that will kill anybody, but, you know.
Yeah, so we're reaching out with the tool to make sure that we're getting the middle of the room, okay? So while we're doing that, we're also keeping contact with what?
I see.
The wall, okay? So that way we don't lose disorientation or, lose anything like that. Because if you get in the middle of the room, in a smoke-filled, dark room, what's going to happen? Or what kind of visual happen?
You're not gonna know where the door is.
You're not going to know where the door is, okay? So maintain contact with the wall. If you want to, instead of using the tool to sweep out, put the tool against the wall and go out there, okay? So that way you have a constant contact with something that can reorient you when you get back, okay? Checking underneath those beds and everything like that, okay? Somebody said something over here. Yeah, close the door. So if I've got three people on the search team, how many people is required to go into the bedroom? One, really? Okay. So what is the other person doing? If I've got two on this team, what's the other person doing? Yeah, they're maintaining that door. Okay. So and they're constant contact. So if that person does get lost in that room, then they can go back to that door with the help of that other firefighter. Okay. So start your search as close to the fire as possible, then work backwards towards the entrance. Proceed as directly as possible from the entry to reach a point nearest the fire. Your hose line or search line will provide a way to maintain orientation. Okay? So what's the hose line trick? Male or female?
Smooth bump.
Okay, there you go. Alright. So you could have two search teams or one search team method. This would probably be used at the school. Okay, this type of search. In the picture. Let's go there. In the picture. Okay. So if we've got two search teams going through the school, and they're going through the hall, what are they going to do? One's going to take one side of the hallway, the other one's going to take the other side of the hallway, and they're going to search. Okay? Are they going to cross paths?
No.
No, they shouldn't ever cross paths. Okay? They should maintain contact with either the right side of the hallway or the left side of the hallway or right side of the hallway. Alright? If you've got one search team doing it, okay? Not that I would suggest only one search team doing it in school. But if you've only got one search team going, maybe they are doing one hallway, and then you've got another search team doing another hallway. Okay? So if we have that situation, we're going to go up one side, and then cross and do the other side. Okay?
Depends on your fire location.
Yeah, it does.
If
Yes.
it's heavy fire, you're gonna search both sides as
Yes.
you go, because fire will get through
Yes.
the other room faster.
You're going to control your egress pathways or passageways. So stage a firefighter at the door of the search room to control that door. Close any kind of doors that are adjacent. After they're searched, position your hose teams to cool accumulated gases, and then use thermal imagers to search for fire victims. Okay. Get low to the floor to perform that survey. the thermal layering and buoyancy of smoke produced, a clear area just above the floor level, right? So victims and obstacles or layout of the room may be identified quickly from this perspective. So get low and stay low. Alright? If there is minimal smoke, then you can walk upright. You can crawl or kneel in heavy smoke, okay, or extreme heat. So if you encounter extreme heat or cannot see your feet through the smoke, you should not be walking upright. So good rule of thumb. Search methods. So victims may be found in paths of egress and areas where they seek shelter. Okay? So the search perimeter of each room, reach completely underneath beds and furniture, and place your tool against the wall and extend the arm or leg to search the middle of the room. Okay? So it might be a bad idea to throw the axe out there and start swinging it in the middle of the room just in case there is a victim, right?
Use the handle, not the head.
I know some people are smart enough to do that. There are some people who are not smart enough to do that.
Just a few stitches, it's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. In limited visibility, you may need to touch items to identify them and the type of room that you may be in. If you touch something hard and smooth, what room are you most likely in?
Kitchen, bathroom.
Kitchen, bathroom.
Laundry room.
Okay, you got laundry room. All right. If you touch something soft and maybe elevated, what room are you in? Bedroom. Okay, or living room. Search all sides of an object and never move an object. Why do you not want to move that object?
Could be evidence.
Could be evidence, yeah.
Somebody could be hiding under it.
Huh?
Somebody could be hiding under it.
Somebody could be hiding under it. What else?
If you're old like me, you don't wanna hurt your back while you're in there.
Okay.
Wouldn't it?
What about if you move an object and then you get disoriented? Where's that
You
object?
do everything that's in
Yeah.
the room.
You don't have any kind of idea where anything is, okay, and how to get out. So your tick operate according to SOP, so we'll scan at floor level and then higher levels. Manually search beneath and behind furniture. Open doors to scan inside closets and cabinets. The screen may light out if it detects levels of high heat. Just allow for time to readjust before proceeding. Okay. Maintain radio contact. Close doors to uninvolved rooms and clear any kind of unused hose lines or equipment from egress pathways. Okay. So your oriented search method, you're going to go around the room kind of in a sweeping method. You've still got that one firefighter who is at the door, orientating you to that search. Okay. Wide search methods. Your search team is going to have a search line. You're going to have a lead. You're going to have a navigator, and then you're going to have your searchers as well. Okay. So in this case, you're basically going to go into a rope. Each person is going to have a lead rope off of the main rope that they're going to take and go out to somewhere and
Well, we better
search.
recruit a lot of people if we're
Right.
planning.
right. So it does require a lot of people. So so when you use ropes and rings and knots to kind of figure out where you're going. So when you come to a ring, that is closer to the beginning of the search. When you come to a knot, that is closer to the exit that you came in, okay, or the entrance that you came in. In each knot, depending on how many knots there are, if you've ever used a search rope, Mike, have you ever used a search rope?
But only in water rescue.
Yeah. So, but and do you guys tie the ropes to indicate
It's
length?
tape, it's tape
Is it tape?
every 10 feet.
So you can. This one is what, every 20 feet? Yeah.
Yeah.
So every 20 feet they've got a knot, and that knot indicates how far that rope is.
Well, you got a ring and a
Yeah,
knot. So
yeah.
a ring and 1 knot's 20 feet, ring and 2 knots 40 feet,
Right.
ring and 3 knots.
Okay. So offering basically means that you're gonna go tie off to the lead rope, with your rope, and you're gonna search off of that rope. Okay. VEIS, so vent, enter, isolate, and search. It's a rapid search of individual rooms accessed from the exterior of the building. It is usually chosen when there are possible victims in a survivable area, or when we know that there is a victim inside that room, for definite. And it should only be initiated after size up of the entire building. We're going to do our 360, and we're going to look. Okay. Rooms involved with fire where that show indications of backdrafts or flashover should not be searched using VIS, and use only survivable areas that are unlikely to have any kind of fire extinction when there. Okay. So vent, we're going to vent the room, and we're going to allow that air to come out. We're going to isolate, or we're going to enter, and then we're going to isolate the room itself. So we're going to close off the door coming into that room from the flow path. And then we're going to search the room to see if we've got any victims in
Make sure you check the immediate area around the door
Yes.
before you move.
there. Okay. Crew integrity is key to successfully completing VEIS. Verbal, physical contact is necessary to allow the searcher to lead through the entry point. Okay. So how do ticks aid in search operations?
Let's see.
Fire temperature.
Okay, so let's just monitor fire temperature.
You can see things we can.
Okay, yeah, it lets us see. Okay. What's the difference between a wide area search and an oriented search?
Wide area is off-road, oriented to the wall.
Okay. And what does the VEIS stand for? Very good. Alright, so give an example of a situation that might require the use of an oriented search technique.
A bedroom,
A bedroom. Okay. What about a wide area search technique?
high school gym.
Large school.
High school gym. Okay. Bay areas, garages, that type of thing. Alright, let's take 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and do the last objective.
Fire. You look at.
You seen Naples, Florida already? You seen Naples, Florida already?
No, I haven't.
There's their ladder truck.
Underwater?
It's almost up to the door handle.
I got the thing.
slides, let's go. I'm gonna thank you.
Alright, so, last objective for the evening, we're gonna do, victim removal methods. Okay? So, victim self-extrication. Okay, so if the victim can self-extricate, let them self-extricate. Okay? Don't put more work on yourself. So, direct occupants to an alternate exit, close doors to maintain that integrity of the exit path, and establish a safe haven where victims can go. Okay? What duties might a firefighter have if a victim is able to self-extricate?
Door control,
Door control. Okay?
giving direction.
Giving direction. Okay? You may have to assist minorly. Yeah. You're elderly, you may have to assist them, help them walk or something like that, but otherwise, if they can self-evacuate, let them self-evacuate. Okay? Shelter in place, used when there's, the hazard is minor. It's maybe safer to keep those victims inside until you can get control of the fire, and control your flow path. And the victims are incapacitated or cannot be moved. You have limited staffing to assist with the evacuation.
That would be us.
Or the structure can provide protective barrier between the victim and the hazard. Okay? It is commonly used in hospitals, nursing homes, correctional facilities, high rises, high hazard industrial sites, schools. We have fire doors at school, so they evacuate the whole school anyway, but we do have fire doors just in case. Okay, so an example of a shelter in place, you've got two different seats of fire, and it's safer for them to shelter in place versus letting them get out into the smoke and fire.
They're going out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Sitting above the fire.
I think I don't know that they're sitting above the fire, I think it's
On that
just
corner.
the view of it, but it's in that back corner.
Alright.
So, what type of situation would sheltering in place be used instead of evacuation? Nursing homes, hospitals, schools, okay? So victim removal techniques. So victim removal is required when conditions present self-evacuation or sheltering in place, and the victims are directly threatened, okay? Our duties during this victim removal would be to extinguish any kind of fire that has cut them off from an exit, provide maybe an alternate exit way, remove any kind of debris from a pinned victim, and carry injured or unconscious victims to safety. Okay?
Our biggest thing will be removing debris.
Yeah.
Most houses that we've gone into, the back door has got so much crap
Right.
stacked up against it.
Right. Injured victims should not be moved until assessed and treated unless in danger. Really, I mean, if we're gonna go into an ILDH, we should probably pull them from the fire first
I was
and
gonna
then
say.
assess and treat. But if it's just a simple search and rescue inside the building, then yeah, assess and treat
I'm
first.
in full PPE, it's dangerous and they should.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Okay. Never pull the victim sideways and use proper lifting technique as well. Okay. Safety guidelines. So lift as a team. Focus on keeping your balance. Support the head and neck. Avoid unnecessarily jostling the patient. And never drag or carry a victim through the hazard zone unless you have no other choice to do so.
Out there for a minute, he was dragging by the neck, by the way, he was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of does.
What's up here?
So techniques that we can use to remove victims would be the incline drag, the extremity or lift carry, the webbing carry or drag, cradle and arms used for smaller people, obviously. Seat and lift carry or a litter carry.
Does anybody ever notice that that webbing drag is never done with a real person, because that position sucks?
Yeah,
Just saying.
and we're gonna go over that tonight. So what methods can be used to remove a victim?
A webbing drag.
Okay, so all of those things. Okay, the incline drag, the extremity drag carry, the seat and lift carry.
The biggest thing of it is with those, other than the webbing drag, you're getting them up the heat and the smoke, if it,
Right, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, so.
yeah. Okay, we are done.
In the
So,
classroom.
yeah, in classroom. So, do you guys want to take your test now or afterwards?
Take it now.
Okay.
Paperwork.
Yes. You get a pen?
Yeah.
done? Alright, so you guys are gonna grade your own. And then we'll go over the skills that you guys will be tested on and, we'll go over, okay? So, number one, just call out the answer.
D.
D. Number two. B. As in boy. Number three. A. 4. A. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9.
A.
And 10.
D.
D. Beautiful. So I have the lip staff. One cone. Oh, that's what I've done. All right, so there are a couple different skills, and I'm going to show you the videos. They're just the videos. There's no talking or anything, but it's just a video of how it's completed. So, if my internet is not working. No, go away. I hadn't noticed that they were going to work.
I didn't see them today.
Well, it wasn't, because I was trying to get some more. Alright, so let's go through the skills real quick. So we're going to look at skill sheet 34, the primary and secondary search. Okay. So you're going to evaluate the structure and establish a search pattern. The way we'll do this is I'll put you into groups, and you'll go in as a team of 3, and then you'll kind of, one person will rotate, one person will be team lead, and the other 2 will go in as team members to the group, and then you'll rotate to be team lead at least once. Okay. So you're going to evaluate the structure and establish a search pattern. You're going to initiate an accountability system. You're going to check for any kind of doors for heat. If they're closed before entering the rooms. Search the structure using the selected search pattern. You're going to call out for potential victims and stop periodically for listen to sounds. Completely search the room and control any kind of doors while the search is conducted. You're going to update IC on progress. You're going to mark all rooms that have been searched, and then monitor any kind of air supply, ensuring adequate air is available for self-rescue. Locate victims and remove victims from the structure using the appropriate carry or drag, and then update IC. Okay? So the way it should work is you get your team together, one of you decide who's going to be team lead, and then determine what kind of search pattern you're gonna use. And then after you've gone through one room, you're gonna update your IC on your progress, okay? And then mark the door as you exit that room. And then before you enter the next room, you're gonna update, you're gonna do a self-monitoring air supply. Just tell IC, hey, I've got this much air left, and I'm entering the second room. Okay. And then if you've got a victim, remove them, and then hold them, and then update IC. Okay. All right. Next one is the lifts and carries. So there are 3 different lifts and carries that need to be completed. So the incline drag, the 2-person extremity carry, and the webbing drag. Okay. So we're going to use a mannequin to do all of these drags and carries and stuff like that. We'll kind of go through the carries first, and then you guys will perform them, and then we'll go through, after we've done the carries, we'll go through and do the primary, secondary search. Okay? Any questions so far? I will take your quizzes. Turn out here, and then we'll get SCBA as well. Okay? So you'll get that stuff. We'll
Yes. I don't know how much charge this has.